Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joy Lageray, and I have with me Tommy Cook, who's our guest today. Hi, Tommy. And I do want to give a shout out before we begin to my sponsor, Chad Christ, and his Luscious Moss studio that's owned and operated by him. And I think it was last week that we had him with us, and he was interviewing about his progress on his studio and the recordings that he's been making. So he does have a creative environment there. He makes sure that that people feel comfortable. And if you have any needs at all, you can look him up on Facebook under Luscious Moss Studio or Chad Christ, and he'll take care of your needs for you. In the meantime, Tommy, tell us about your background. I do know a little bit about it because you sent it in a bio, but not everybody takes the time to read bios. So I'd like to know when you started and who your influences were. What was the reason that you started? What instrument did you start with? Probably the drums, right? And the influences at the time. Oh, I can't hear you for some reason. I can't. I can't hear you. No.
Okay. It's not
Oh,
muted.
there we go.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I just got a comment up here says, thank you for doing this. So you're very welcome. But I can't see you. I can't see who you are unless you print your name. There is a way to do that when you first come in, but it's not always easily available to people who don't see it and don't know how to sign in. Okay. So Tommy, tell us your story.
Sorry, guys. My earplugs somehow cut that out. Anyways, my dad was a bass player. He was an upright player. He played bluegrass and country music. That's what I grew up on.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know how to do my stuff.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's what got me interested in music. I think I started, they got me guitar lessons when I was like 6 years old, I think is when I started. I was living in California. That's where I was born. But I grew up in Alaska. A little bit more on that later. But I started with guitar and I just didn't take to it. You know, they gave me a full-size guitar. I'm 6. I got these little baby hands. I'm like, you know, I can't really do it. And it just didn't stick. I really honestly wanted to play bass more than anything. But, you know, my dad was just already doing that. And I don't know. And then my grandfather was a organ player.
Oh.
And he taught me some stuff when I was younger. He used to make his living playing for silent movies. Way back in the day, yeah. So I have a little bit of it's crazy. I got a little bit of musical family going on. And it wasn't until we moved to Alaska, I was 9 years old, and I discovered Led Zeppelin and John Bonham, and was just like, oh my gosh, I really want to do that. And so shortly after that, I got my first drum set. My dad built me a shed outside because they didn't want to hear me. I don't blame them. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I got into drumming. And, you know, I listened to everything. I mean, I grew up on punk rock and country music, and my mom liked R&B. So I would listen to whatever she had on, you know, and then eventually as I got older, I kind of got into hip hop and rap, and you know, at the beginning of that stuff. And yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of how I got into it.
All right. We have a bunch of things here that are coming up. Would you like to answer these? The first one.
Yeah.
I don't know names. I do know that one of them, James Crawford Tama, is my friend James. He does he does a lot of work for finding missing children. And he's got a record out that, oh Lord, help me out, James. I forgot the name of it. But
tell us the album, James.
It's about the March of the Indians. yeah, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
He can claim it best, but anyway. And then there's one above him that I cannot read.
I see the man, the myth, the legend, Tommy Cook. Played with him a few times, and he's the best of the best. Well, thank you. I'm not the best of the best, but I appreciate that.
Well, I disagree, but I agree with that person.
And then Samson Cymbals rule, right, Tommy Hot Rodster? Yes, they do.
Oh, Hot Rodster. That is Rodney Landert. He has a country band called the Hot Rodsters.
Ah, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he does a lot of Charlie Daniel tributes at casinos, and they really are hot.
And he must play Samson Cymbals.
Actually, he plays the violin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, there's a little thing there. It's kind of hard to read, and it doesn't give us their names. That's a bummer.
Yeah,
you guys have to make sure you put your name in there.
Yeah, that's the one I was telling you about by James is "Run with Me, Tama." "Run with Me" is the name of the song, and same way is the name that he goes under. He has his own.
Oh, okay.
His own record label.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for chiming in, guys.
Okay, so what was the first time you played out in public, and how was that experience for you?
Gosh, man, I haven't had to think about this stuff for a while. I joined band classes and stuff. I'd probably say that was the first time I played out in front of anybody was probably in junior high when I was in band class. And that I can remember. I mean, it was fun. I mean, I love music. Music to me is magic. You know what I mean? It's like the real magic of the world. It could do all kinds of stuff for you. So for me, it was just, it sounds weird, but I play for myself. You know what I mean? I play for myself. That's what makes me the happiest. And hopefully that transfers when I play for people. And so I guess, later on in high school and stuff, I mean, I didn't really play out in bars until I was old enough. I wasn't one of these, like my wife, she was playing in bars at 14, sneaking in.
Yeah.
I didn't have that luxury. I remember playing with my dad one time at an Elks Lodge when I was younger. And that was really cool. People were like, oh, coming up. And I felt like I made my dad proud. So that was, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt good. I don't know.
So we have another comment from Rodney from the Hot Rodsters. He says, I played drums also, got Samson in studio.
Yes. So Samson are some cymbals that I endorse. And I'm one of their players, and they're amazing. They're made in Turkey, in Samson, Turkey. And a good friend of mine that Tim Qualls is their rep here for the United States, and he lives in Texas, and he plays a lot of country and a lot of blues and all kinds of stuff. And I met him through a mutual friend, and I was searching for cymbals. And anyways, they were amazing, and we hit it off, and we built a relationship, professional relationship. And so that's all I use is Samson cymbals.
All right. Okay. I had no idea what he was talking about. Sorry about that, Rodney.
Yeah, that's what it is. So apparently he played in a studio that had them. Yeah, they're amazing. Amazing cymbals.
So moving on. When you started, from where you started, did you play it all the way through high school, or is there some point that you stopped and restarted, or how did your journey go?
I played in high school. I took every band elective that was available to me. So I actually played drums in marching band, jazz band, orchestra, concert band, and even the swing choir hired me to do some stuff. So anything that I can get my hands on, you know what I mean? I did. And then later on, as when I got to the maybe sophomore or junior year, I want to say I started joining bands with other people, garage bands and stuff. And from there, I kind of learned about popular music and how to make that work drumming wise.
So what kind of music do you prefer? Any particular kind, and any drummers that you notice that you'd like to have that style? Or
Yeah. Let's see here. To go back for a second and answer your original question was if I ever stopped.
right.
I was really into sports in school. So my dream as a kid was to be an Olympic skier.
Oh,
So I had a coach, and from probably 12 years old to around 20, I really focused on that a lot, and music was always just my therapy,
right.
It wasn't after, I decided to not pursue skiing anymore. I just, was getting hurt a lot, and at 20 years old, I didn't, I saw myself at my age now being in a lot of pain, right? My knees, and I was a mogul skier. I had a coach. I had some sponsorships and stuff like that, and I competed a lot. And anyways, so I focused mainly on that. And then as I got older, I went to college. I think I only stopped playing drums maybe for a year when I went down to Texas. I lived in Austin for a year and went to UT, and it's because I didn't have my drums with me. And so that was really the only time I didn't play. I can't ever imagine myself just hanging it up. It's just too important to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love all music. I love all music. I'm inspired by everything. So many players that, inspire me, local people too. My buddy, I got a lot of friends here that, play drums that, a guy I just hung out with, Conrad Real, is an amazing drummer that I just hung out with over the weekend. He's always inspiring. Steve Smith from the Seattle Drum School, I've taken some lessons from him. Gary Williams, who passed away, I took some lessons from him. He was an amazing drummer. My buddy Bill Ray, who I take lessons from too, is an amazing drummer, and just I don't know, man.
Doug Magoo said he loves you. So
Doug. Doug. I love Doug. Doug is amazing, man. Great guy too.
Yeah, 2 years ago I had him on my show, and I'm trying to get him back. So
oh, cool. I'll watch that one for sure. I love Doug. Doug is a great guy. He's one of the first people I met when I moved into town, which is a long time ago. I've been here now as long as I've been in Alaska. So I've been here 20 years now, I think, total.
So what were you doing musically? What were you doing in Alaska? What was that story? I know there's a story there, but I just can't.
Yeah. So the first time I moved to Seattle was in the grunge explosion of the 90s.
Yeah.
I auditioned for a band that was supposedly getting signed, and I sent in a tape, and they accepted it. So I moved to Seattle with literally $80 in my pocket. And I was just very determined. And didn't even have a job lined up. And then I lined up a job, was able to take care of myself when I got down here. The band did some good things, and then it broke up in the studio, as bands do, and because two of the main guys just didn't get along or had some kind of arguments over writing or whatever. And so it really was a promising thing that just didn't turn out to be anything. And I stayed for 5 years, and then I moved back to Alaska for 5 years. And then I moved back here in 2005.
Oh.
And so when I was up there, I was just, education, just learning how to play with people. I really learned how to play blues then. That's kind of when I had moved to Seattle. And then when that didn't work out and I moved back, I was playing in this hip hop metal band.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. We had a turntablist and a couple rappers and a couple rock players. And it was a really, really fun project. And one of the rappers, his dad was a horn player. And he came, we were called Shed 604 because we practiced in the shed, and the number of the shed was 604. Right? Yeah. So
what part of Alaska is that?
That was in Anchorage. I grew up in Eagle River outside of Anchorage, but that was in Anchorage. And so he invited me to come out to Blues Central, and he said, can you shuffle? And I said, yeah, I think I could shuffle. Because I just listening to John Bonham and Steely Dan, I could sort of get through some of that stuff at the time. And I ended up going there and joined my first blues band that night when I got up and jammed with some guys that I met. And anyways, he just introduced me to people, and it just the jams are great to meet people, and so that's kind of how it started for me. It was just went to a blues jam, and then I really got into it. And there was a drummer up there that really took the time with me, and he was like, look, you're a good drummer, but you got to know the blues, and people are really specific with their grooves with the blues. Yeah. So this is way back when where, people had tapes and stuff. So he gave me a bunch of tapes and some CDs of artists that he wanted me to look at, Right. He's like, you got to listen to Elmore James. You got to, don't just listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan, he's awesome, but there's a lot more to it than just that. Go back and listen to the guys that he listened to. So I went, and I took it serious. And I started to listen to that music and figure out how to shuffle correctly, and make it feel that way, and just, and I was just surrounded by great players up there that were just awesome and really kind. Yes. So that's what I was doing up there. I stayed up there for a while until I had to just get out. I just had to get out and see what I could do with music.
Oh, good. I'm glad you came back.
Yeah, me too.
We did have another comment here. I think they're singing your praises, Tommy.
Absolutely one of the best out there. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I enjoy it. I mean, like I said, I've managed to make a career out of playing music. It wasn't always that way, but I don't know where I heard this, but somebody said, if you just do it long enough, you'll be good. And I was like,
well, I think that's with anything.
Yeah. You just do it long enough. And if you really enjoy it, then you can make a career out of it.
I had a martial arts instructor who was at the University of Utah. And he said, even after you do this, the katas, the movements.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He said, even if you do this 1,000 times, you're just beginning to understand it.
Yeah, it's true. It's just about repetition and yeah. Martial arts and music are very yeah, they're a lot alike. There's a lot of lessons there that transfer over,
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
we were at the fact that you we're going back and forth a couple of times from Alaska to Seattle. Mm-hmm. Usually I don't ask this question right away, but today I think I will. Okay. What was the worst time you ever had with your art, with your drumming, with your artistry on the drums?
The worst. Well, a couple things stick out. Back when I used to drink, I don't drink anymore. I've been 7 years sober. So,
well, congrats. Yes.
Yeah, and I don't consider myself an alcoholic. I just realized that it was becoming, a problem, and I needed to, I needed to really respect my craft more than just my drinking. And so, let's see here. So there was one time where I was just not a good person to be around. That's all I'll say about that. And my wife, the next day I was like, man, your personality is starting to get a little irritating. So, yeah. And then let's see, what else? Most of the stuff that, most of the stuff that I remember, not, I would have to say, when you just get self-conscious, in the early days when I would see another drummer play before me, like when I was first touring, and I'd be out, at a big festival, and the drummer, before or after was just like amazing, I would just be like, oh my God, I got to follow that. Like one time you know what I mean? It was like, it's just insecurities, you know what I mean? And I remember I was playing with, Paulie and I were touring with Too Slim and the Tail Draggers, and we had to follow Rick Estrin and the Nightcats, and his drummer was playing behind his back, and and this was like 29,000, 30,000 people at the Portland waterfront. I mean, it was a massive crowd. And I just remember sitting there going, oh my God, I'm not prepared for this. But I got through it and fine. And, that kind of stuff always sticks out with me when I was younger, just learning those kind of experiences where you just got to realize, look, you can only do what you're going to do, and just be inspired by other people, and what they do.
I still do that, Tommy. I often think that there are people that are just, they're so outstanding that they take your breath away. And then you follow them. And even though I know what you just said, I learned that lesson a long time ago, but still, it's still there. It never really goes away. It's like, I better bring my A game on this one.
Yeah. I think your perspective changes, it's like, I'm never going to be so-and-so. I'm never going to be, that person or whatever. And it's fantastic what they do. Watch them, learn from them, respect them, and do you, at the end of the day, that's all you can do.
Right.
A couple things came in. Somebody said, seen Paulie play 30 years ago in Skagit County and watched the evolution to present. You're top notch. Oh, thank you. Tommy, talk about your path with getting sponsorships and any tips for touring musicians. Okay, I can answer that. My path to that was like anybody else. One thing kind of leads to another, I toured with bands before Too Slim, but I would probably say when I got the gig with Too Slim and the Tail Draggers, that was the first like real national act. Yeah. And I was very fortunate. Tim was a really cool dude to play with. He taught me a lot. He was also like, he knew what he wanted, and you needed to deliver. And if you didn't, you were going to hear about it. So I respected that. He was very but in a good way. I think you just got to be open. You got to be open. And you got to be professional. That's the thing. You have to be a good hang. If you want to tour with multiple people and be out there on the road, it's not all partying and drinking and, whatever your thing is. It's about being on time. It's about listening and doing your homework, doing the music, playing for the song, playing for what the artist wants, not necessarily what you want. That's what a touring musician requires. And listening, you just got to listen to everything. For as far as sponsorships go, there's just so much information out there for me to talk all at once. I'm kidding. For endorsements and things like that, don't endorse anything that you don't truly love. And it's about relationships more than anything. I don't care about free gear. There was a time where I did probably, and nothing's for free anymore. You get a discount. You get a discount on stuff, but I don't even want a discount unless it's something I absolutely play. So Samson cymbals are amazing. They make anything that I want, any kind of sound I want. They have like, 20 different lines, 21 different cymbal lines now. Like I said, I met them through a friend. I wasn't looking for an endorsement. I just developed a relationship, which have basically turned into, hey, if you want to play us, we're interested in you, and I get people that ask a lot, well, can you hook me up? And it's like, well, I can introduce you to anybody, but I don't know if I can hook you up because it's a business, right? It's like, you have to kind of be out there and seen to a certain degree. That's what they're looking for. So it's a mutual relationship, I also endorse London Drumstick Company. That kind of came about because when they were working into the U.S. market, I had a friend that was turned me on to them, and I wanted a particular stick made, and they were able to do it. And then when that relationship ended and they were just doing their own thing in London, they kept me on because I built a rapport with the guy that owns the company, and so that's kind of how that was. That's all I can think of right now, and I'm sure I'll think of more later.
Yeah, hours.
We got some time on it.
There's a correction on spelling here. Is
Yes.
it Sam, S-U-N, and it's not
It
Samsung?
is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is Samsun, and it is a city in Turkey. That's where the name comes from.
Okay.
For anybody that's a drummer out there that's looking to get some cymbals, though, I highly recommend those guys. And Tim Qualls is the guy that does the U.S. Stuff there, sales, and he's amazing. And yeah,
There's another thing there underneath the Hot Rodsters comment.
Mm-hmm.
Polly playing 20 years, seen Polly play 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that Polly's my wife, for anybody that doesn't know.
Oh, I didn't know. I have never been.
So Polly, my main band is Polly O'Keery and the Rhythm Method. And whoops. It looks like it's just me now. There you are.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm all alone. I don't know what to do, Joy.
Yeah, just carry on. I was right there.
So Polly plays bass and sings, and the band is Polly O'Keery and the Rhythm Method. And I manage the band and do and I book all the tours and stuff, our national tours that we do. Polly's been around here for a long time. She's she's my wife. She's awesome. I don't know what else to say.
In the band called the Rhythm Method?
Yeah, Polly O'Keery and the Rhythm Method. She says she owes her life to that.
I'm going to have to get her on my program.
Oh, yeah. She would love to be on here.
Nothing. Oh, tell her I get a hold of her. I'll have to get a hold of her through you because I don't think I have her.
Absolutely. Right. I'll hook you up.
Super.
I know her personally. I'll hook you up.
Yeah. That's how I'm going to get my relationship, right? Oh, my goodness. So with that, I've kind of want to touch in, we kind of know your background a little bit, but you also teach. Is that not correct?
I do. Yeah. I love teaching drums, man. I absolutely love it. I work at Seattle Drum School in the Lake City location. Oh. I teach on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And sometimes I fill in on Wednesdays there too. And so that came about during COVID. Well, it was during COVID. So, I mean, I've always taught, but I've never considered myself a teacher. I mean, I've studied, music. I know music theory, and I've studied it, been to school with it. And, but I never really, people would ask me things and I'd be like, oh yeah. So this is how I'm, do this or whatever. This is what I'm studying, or, that whole thing, music as a language, all that. But it was during COVID. They needed people. One of their instructors was sick, and Steve Smith reached out to me and because I was taking some lessons with Steve. My hands were really hurting. I got a lot of joint problems and stuff, and so I went to Steve, and Steve is just amazing. He's an expert with just technique and stuff like that, so you can play relaxed, and a phenomenal drummer himself. So I went and saw him to fix some of these problems I was having with my wrists and things like that. And during that time, we got to know each other, and they had an instructor that was sick, and they needed a last minute somebody that could teach online. And I had the capabilities of teaching online at the time because I was doing a bunch of stuff. I was just figuring out, like all of us, right, during COVID, how do you survive COVID, online? And so that turned into when they opened back up, I just started teaching. They just kept me on board, and Steve and Christy Smith. And I just love it there. I absolutely love teaching. I teach all levels. I really enjoy teaching advanced students, but I really enjoy teaching kids. I'm a dad, so I've got 2 kids. They're older now, but They're grown, as we say. Um, and yeah, I just love teaching kids. I love when you explain something to anybody and all of a sudden it clicks and they're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. And like that feeling just makes me feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
We have a couple more comments that came in where you were telling your story there. Somebody asked if you have an indigenous heritage.
Not that I know of. I no, I am English and Irish is pretty much what I mostly am. My dad's side of the family is English cook, and he had some other things in there too. But my mom was mostly Welsh and Irish on her side of the family that I know of. Yeah, no, so no indigenous heritage that I know of. Probably have a DNA test.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to find
somebody
out.
would ask that because I don't think I look indigenous at all.
There, since we don't know who you are, I am who these people are. They're not putting their names, and there's some of them are James and Rodney did. But oh, by the way, I wanted to mention: did you ever teach a lady called Joanna Iris? Joanna?
No, I know Joanna because we were hanging out one time in I want to say Tacoma. There was a jam out there, like Billy Shoe Jam.
Yeah,
I think that's where I met her. Yeah, and I remember her because we were having this wonderful conversation about drums. And no, I never taught her officially, but she asked me questions, you know, and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm working on. This is what I do.
Okay.
You know, share the knowledge. She's wonderful.
Yeah, it's just she backed me there at Billy Shoes. At Stars, I think they in Federal Way was the name of the place.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I've just been in contact with her. She's quite the young lady.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, what he's talking about in these things, when we can't see who's talking right now, probably James asked that question about the heritage, but afterwards, maybe you can go into, I'll send you the link and answer some of these questions.
Sure.
Or see who is telling you whatever.
Yeah.
No,
I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me. I mean, it's the best of my ability, I guess.
So what else did you do during the COVID to keep yourself going, or was that enough for you?
No, I have a home studio, so I did a lot of stuff with that. I was just boning up on, you know, mixing, recording, engineering. Mm-hmm. And took a lot of courses during that time. I'm a sound guy too. I run sound for live bands and stuff. Yeah, so I love that. Like that is a rabbit hole I started to go down about maybe 20 years ago. Was mixing live, and then as I learned more of that, I got into studio work, like home studio work, kind of putting together a home studio. And there I really got interested in mixing and engineering. And COVID was that time where I spent a lot of time taking online courses and learning as much about sound reinforcement and recording engineering as I possibly could, just to further my education. Because if you're going to be a professional musician in this day and age, you have to diversify. You have to branch out and do more than just be a drummer, or it's really hard to make it, because there's a lot of good drummers out there. There's a lot of good musicians out there. So I, started teaching. I started providing sound. I can also do live recordings with some of the equipment that I have, so I can make videos for people and also professionally mix it down in my studio. Yeah. So I started doing that kind of stuff, and that made me some money on the side. And that's kind of what I did. It was just kind of had to rediscover, what I was going to do going forward. And because nobody knew, at that time, we were like, we were just all sitting at home.
Yeah. Do you ever have any worries? Do you ever have any worries that you might all come back?
Yeah, for sure. But I also, owned a landscaping company. So I went back and I did that for a while. That got me out of the house. And I was able to do that because I was outside and wasn't around people. So I was able to dig ditches again and kind of do some of that manual labor that I did in my past. Cut grass, cut down trees. But, yeah.
So that kind of reminds me of a picture I posted. One of the pictures I posted, I believe I got his name right, was Eric Rice. And the other side of you was Scotty Harris, I believe.
Yeah, my brothers.
Yes, and I put the song that I put to, and I put it out on everybody's cell phone, was "We Are Family." It's out there.
Yes.
We are family. Now it seems to me, and I'm not sure who is all involved, but you've just gotten some awards for the Blues Society, the local Blues Society, or is it international, or?
It's a local, the Washington Blues Society, and very honored that they recognized me and voted for me for several years for Blues Drummer of the Year. I won it 3 times, and it's an honor. It's really nice to be recognized by the community, and it just what can I say? Thank you, Washington Blues Society, and everybody that voted.
We have 2 more comments.
Sure.
One is asking how many pieces you have in your drum set, and my guess is it depends upon the gig too. And
Absolutely.
Then got one from Electric Dave.
I know Electric Dave. What's up, buddy? Yeah, he was the one that plugged the band. Okay, yeah. Dave has known my wife longer than I've known her by many years. Yeah.
I'm not going to probe. But anyway, what is he saying there? He says something about, it was me who commented about was it POK?
Yeah, Polly O'Keery. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Polly O'Keery and the rhythm method. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Dave, how many pieces in my drum set? Well, my studio kit that's set up in my home studio downstairs is 10, 12, 14, 16, 22 kick. I like those sizes. I have a lot of percussion, a lot of cymbals. When I'm playing a gig, I mean, if I could have a Mike Mangini kit set up with like 500 pieces, I probably would do that if I had somebody setting it up for me, because I'd love to play on, it just gives you ideas. You know what I mean? I like options. But I'm happy with playing a kick, a snare, and a floor tom too. I mean, because that helps you get really creative. It makes you use your imagination playing on less. And so, it just depends. It just depends on what the gig requires. That's kind of what determines it for me.
I also asked Tommy if he played the cajon, because I'm into cajones lately.
Yes. That's the best gig ever. One box you carry in, and maybe a microphone.
Actually, Tommy, I was looking at this, and they not only have that, but they have a way that you can put a rod through there that gives you a cymbal sound, and they have a pedal where they give you the bass drum. I mean, my gosh, you can actually make a drum set out of the cajon.
You can. And you know what? I wish I owned one of those. I own a cajon, but I don't have all the auxiliary stuff that goes with it, which would be awesome. Because I'm getting that age now where it's like, man, less is just better. It's not more, it's just better for me.
Around and setting it up.
Yeah.
Of all one of the things I asked you is, what was the worst time? But I didn't get to ask you what was the best time. When was it that or was it a lot of times where you said, oh yeah, I'm doing the right thing. I made a good choice.
When I was touring with Too Slim, my most memorable thing is we got to play for our troops. We got to fly to the Middle East and play for the U.S. troops. Got to fly onto an aircraft carrier. It's where I proposed to my wife, Polly, when we were on the aircraft carrier in private.
Oh, cool.
Because we were there to, I didn't want to make a spectacle of that, but I mean, what kind of opportunity am I going to have, right? To propose. in that kind of way, that grandiose. So I was looking for something that would be memorable, and that certainly was.
Uh-huh.
But we got to talk with like 5,000 of our men and women troops in the Navy off the coast of Pakistan somewhere during wartime. So we were somewhere around there. We got to visit we played with 2 F-18s on either side of the stage, and where they store them. And, it was the most amazing experience. I mean, my dad was Navy, so for me to honor him that way, and I didn't serve. So for me to, with my now wife, and with Too Slim, to be able to do that was just like the time of my life. And then we got to go to Africa and also play in Djibouti, Africa for all of our troops it's like it wasn't just the Navy, right? It was like the Marines, the Army. It was like a multi-service multi-branch base. Yeah. And so for me, that was the coolest, hands down. Even like European touring and stuff, like that was hands down like the coolest thing I ever got to do. I will never forget that. And thanks, Tim, Too Slim, for the opportunity to do that, brother. Because that was just, yeah.
No, I can't remember. I hate to move on from that, but I guess.
No, it's okay.
I would love to have been there. But anyway, the first time that I ran into you, I don't even know what point I was at. I think I was still floundering, but it was before COVID. And I went out to
Twin Dragon
Creek, huh?
Was it the Twin Dragon?
No. Oh, I never saw it at the Twin Dragon, but I did see it at Peebles.
Oh, okay.
It was when it was on Sunday night. And I was sitting there with my husband. He had a different sound man. And I was saying, oh my God, these people are all blues. They're not going to know my music. What am I going to do? And I stayed and I got up, and you were very confident. You immediately quelled all my fears. And Eric, I believe Eric Rice I don't know who was on bass, but no, Eric was the lead. And between the two of you, you had it down. So I relaxed. But yeah, I was pretty scared of going up there.
You did great. I mean, it's about the experience, right? And when you got good players to back you up and everything's cool, you can do your thing,
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And you never missed a beat. So I remembered that for sure. I knew you were number one, one of the number one drummers in the area. So I kept that in mind.
Here's how I remember when we were talking, you came up to me and and you said something. It was really funny. You were like, I don't want this to sound the wrong way or something like that, but can you play country music? Country music, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I love country music. And I remember that's when we hit it off. You're like, you do? And I'm like, yes. And we never get to play country music. So like, let's do this. That's how I remember that going. It was at Peebles. That's right. You're like, you can play country, right? And I'm like, yes, I can. Let's do this.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. We actually do a fair amount of country there on Monday nights too.
Really? I've been trying to get out, but but we do Sunday night over at Duval, and a lot of times my husband has set the equipment up if Lynn can't be there because he's off in Las Vegas or God knows where.
Yeah, touring the world.
Yeah.
Nice, Lynn.
Exactly. And so we don't get home until about midnight, and Kurt has to get up 5 o'clock in the morning. So Monday, when Monday rolls around, we're both tired. Yeah. And when I try to go out at night, after I get through this, I have to follow up. I do some other things and contact people and tell the next person they're due, blah, blah, blah. And by the time I get to the point where I want to go out, I'm so dead tired. I'm like,
Yeah.
But I'm hoping to get there. I trust me, you will have me there at least once.
We'll back you up. We will. And here's the cool thing. If any of our friends want to come out and play with us, we love to learn songs.
Cool.
So reach out to me on Messenger if you're planning on stopping by, the open mic on Mondays at Peebles in Mill Creek, and we'll learn some tunes. I'll learn up 3 songs for you and pass along to the fellas.
Sounds like a deal. Yeah. Okay, I have another comment here about hot. I never realized this, but drummers tune guitars. I have guitars.
Drums. Yeah. We tune as well.
And you have a question here from Toma, my friend James Crawford,
Okay.
Toma, who wants to know how many times you do that, monthly, weekly. So tell me about this. I know nothing about tuning a drum.
Yeah. So it kind of, it depends on the lifespan of the drum head, which depends on what drum head it is, there's different companies. I personally love Aquarian drum heads. I'm not endorsed by them or anything like that, but that's what I play. And if anybody out there represents Aquarian, I would love to be endorsed by you. Since I've been using your drum heads for about 20 plus years. But they last a long time. So for me, once I get the tuning, I tune by notes, and I try to get so what I mean by that is, like, I'll tune my 10-inch tom to a certain note, my 12-inch tom to a certain note. So depending on the drum kit and the size of it, and what intervals I want to use, once I get that set for whatever I'm doing, usually that will last me. I may have to touch it up after, after a gig. So the next gig I may have to retune just a little bit, but I'm not really retuning. I'm just kind of tightening to get it to the pitch that I want if it's a little out. But mostly if I play a lot. So for me, about every 2 months, I'm going through my top heads on my main kit.
How do you tune it through to a note? I don't get it.
So I have a thing called a tune bot, and it clips to the edge of the rim on the drum, and notes are frequencies, right? So it'll tell me exactly what frequency it is, and I basically, I'll tune the top to a certain frequency and make sure that each lug nut, for you drummers out there that know what that is, it's the nuts that tighten the head on the screws, and I get those all at the same pitch around evenly, the same tension, because the way that a drum works is it has a drum edge around the drum on the top. The head sits on top of it, and it's about how it contacts, and then the tension, right? And the drum head will ring at a frequency, which is a note. So I'll make that a certain way. Then I'll tune my bottom head to a different note, and those two notes going together make a note, make a fundamental note. And so I have a little cheating system that I use that will tell me if I want this fundamental note, tune the top head to this frequency, tune the bottom head to this frequency, even tension, and it mostly works out. But the best way is just to get used to tuning to the drum itself, the best sound you can get out of that.
So do you have to tune differently for? Yeah, you're talking about a gig, it sounds like, but do you tune differently for a jam, for example, when you have everything?
Yeah, just whatever. For a jam, I just tune to whatever I had it set the gig before. And then I get there and I go, yeah, this sounds good. Or, nah, I better adjust because the room is different, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'll start it to get it to where a specific tuning that I like. And then when I'm in the studio, don't even get me started on that. I do a whole thing where, each song is a little different, and it's not that I want to make more work for myself. I love gaining knowledge on what you can do. What is it possible to do with a drum? Many different ways. There's nothing better than your ear, right? It either sounds good, as Duke Ellington said, it either sounds good or it doesn't. Either good or it isn't, right? So it's that kind of thing. It's, and you just train your ears to get used to the note that you like, or what note that is best serves that drum. Drums are different sizes. Different heads sound different. If I tune it too low, certain drums just don't sound good. They resonate funny. Huh. That's what I start with, is I figure out what sounds best for that drum. Hopefully that answered your question. So every couple months is what I do, and usually about twice a year on my bottom heads because they don't stretch out as much.
The other a statement on that is the fact that I found out you also can tune cajones.
I did not know that. Yes. I'm going to have to. This is interesting. Do tell.
I was on YouTube and I ran across it, and I'm like, wow. And they actually went through it. I had no clue what they were talking about, but I had kind of had a general idea.
I didn't know you could even do that.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, it is.
I'll have to go learn that now. Thanks, Joy.
You're welcome.
Now I know what I'm going to be doing this evening.
So, what have you had any big events in the last 10 years that were stellar? I mean, like from 1915 to now, which is like 9 years, that you can tell us about, or do you have anything coming up in the future that we need to watch out for?
Well, my main thing that I focus on these days is touring with Polly. We tour nationally, so we go from here to Florida and back, most everything in between. And this is our 10th year of doing that, of touring with her, with our current lineup. This will be our 10th anniversary with Dave and the band. And so for me, it just, each year I try to focus on getting us bigger venues, better places, bigger festivals. I'm just thankful that I get to do this for a living and that I get to meet wonderful people and I get to travel across the U.S. and see, many parts of this country that without music I would have known even existed. So, and we're going to write a new album this year. So we got that to look forward to. We got signed this year on a record label out of Vancouver, Washington called Lightning in a Bottle Records. So we're really looking forward to our relationship with them and seeing where that goes.
Wow.
They have a lot of really impressive talent on that record label. So it's our first time being under a label with this project. Everything has been independent up until now. Our last album that came out, we actually had a number one hit on blues radio, so on Roots Radio. And so we're hoping to get that kind of traction again with this album. And other than that, I mean, that's, I just putting together the tour, making sure we don't break down the road.
Sounds like a lot, Tommy. It sounds like you're a busy man.
Yeah, I'm pretty busy.
Do you sing?
What's that?
Do you sing?
I'll sing backgrounds in Polly's band. I have horrible anxiety when it comes to singing in front of people. I can sit down and play drums, and if I'm not looking at somebody, and this sounds crazy, but if I connect with somebody and I'm seeing, I'm like watching them watch me, my throat will just be like, and then I'll be like, so I don't look at anybody, and I just sing backgrounds, and because I know, I practice the note or whatever, and I know what my part is. Other than that, you will never probably see me in front of people doing karaoke or singing whatever.
Do you ever have anybody say more cowbell?
Oh, about every show. And I do have a cowbell. So every time I hit that, that's the first thing I hear is somebody's like, more cowbell. Yeah.
I love it.
It's fun.
Is there any particular song or one particular there's a lot of songs out there. This is a challenge. Any particular song you really like to play?
Well, lately I've been filling in for this cover band called Cloud Cover. And I run sound for them, but I've been filling in with them because their drummer lives out of town. So whenever he can't make the gig, excuse me. So I had to learn like 45, 50 songs in a short amount of time. And they're all they cover everything from 90s rock, 2000s rock to, Miley Cyrus, Party in the USA, Taylor Swift, just a bunch of really cool songs. A lot of stuff I grew up with, right, in the 90s. So like Jimmy Eat World. Let's see here. Green Day, So coming from the blues world, all of a sudden having to play this really fast punk rock is a challenge, but I love it. So I just joined Drumeo, where you can download all the sheet music and stuff. And so this whole week I have a gig with these guys on Friday. So I've been like phoning up on all these like Chili Pepper songs and all this stuff, which is just a ton of stuff to remember. U2, like U2 is hard to learn. There's some tricky tom fills and, you know, just very musical stuff. So for me, anything that has any sort of like really cool, like the Kinks, right? The Kinks write songs and stuff that are just unusual, the unusual, you know, and how they're written and the parts. So I like anything like that challenges me, that makes me jump out of my comfort zone. And then I'll practice all week, and then of course I'll probably not do a good job on. Sorry, Cloud Clever, but I'm going to screw this up on Friday.
Then they're done.
Yeah, that's, you know, you just do. I'm not the regular guy, and they know that, and they're really awesome. They know that I'm not going to come in there and play it perfectly, but I'm going to try. They know that I am going to put 100% into it and try. So,
right.
Thanks, guys.
Wow.
Like that. I mean, I don't have a particular, you know, song or even genre, just anything that challenges me, that makes me excited.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Do you know how to play Wipeout?
I do. I had to play that in jazz band. I had to play that in high school. I play in a polka band for the month. I know this is, yeah. So I play in a polka band. A lot of people don't know this. I mean, full on lederhosen, high socks, the hat, the German hat. The band is called Bavarian Beer Garden Band. And I play with them all of September and October.
Wow.
I clear my calendar and I play with those guys for those 2 months. All the festivals and stuff. Amazing. And we play Wipeout. We do a whole medley of like five surf songs from the Ventures.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. And so, yeah. I love playing Wipeout. It's cool.
I asked, do you know Jerry Batista, the Davanos? The Davanos?
Yes, I do.
Well, he has a jam at Oxford on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
At 6 to 9. And I asked him to play Wipeout with me. And believe it or not, this guy, he did all the drum parts on his guitar, knocking on his guitar. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, those guys are amazing. If anybody hasn't seen the Davanos, do yourself a favor and go see them. Their drummer's incredible too.
Absolutely.
The whole band is. They're fantastic. Great, all pros.
The last question about that I wanted to ask you was, you used to have that jam on Sunday that you have now, but you have it now on Monday. So what's happening at People's on Sunday that you do? Yeah,
so during COVID, when we were just coming out of COVID and like they were kind of opening up, at capacity, different capacities. Remember, for a while there, it was only some of the bars could only have 50% capacity or whatever in there. We didn't want to come back with a jam because it would be very hard to keep the microphones clean and just deal with that. It was just kind of hard. So what we did was we just did a music review, which is what we're currently doing now. And we would have a guest come in. We would learn some of their stuff, or we wouldn't. We would just wing it and, do improv, depending on the artist and what they're comfortable with. And it just blew up when everything kind of opened back up, and we just decided to keep that format with Eric Rice and Scott Harris, and myself, and it worked so well. It was like there's no reason to go back to a jam. This is working, and so as enough time went by, we figured out a way to bring the jam back just on a different night. Which is what we started about 4 months ago. So
when I saw that, I said yes. Now I just have to get there.
Yeah, right. Now you just got to have free Monday nights, right?
Can you believe we only got a minute left?
I know. It's crazy. Thank you so much for having me on, man. It's been a pleasure to see you again and talk to you.
Thank you. And you as well.
Thanks.
One question I want to ask, is there anything coming up? Do you have any other jams? And is there anything else coming up that you're doing that we need to know about in 45 seconds or less? No.
Yes. The main thing is I've got artist RB Stone from Nashville is coming into town
Oh,
and doing some festivals. And this Saturday, we're playing at the Madison Avenue Pub in Everett
okay.
from 8 to midnight, I believe.
Okay.
RB he's an amazing artist. He plays everything from blues, rock, country, folk. He's amazing. Scotty Harris is going to join me on that one. He's flying into town this week, and we're getting prepared for some festivals next week. He'll be at the Walla Walla Guitar Festival. He'll be at Winterfest in Portland, and we're backing him up. So yeah, that's the immediate thing I have going on.
What time is that? What time?
That is going to be at 8 o'clock. I think it starts at 8 p.m. at the Madison. And then Sunday, he's our guest at Peebo's.
What date is that? The March something? March?
That is, I want to say it's March 2nd.
Okay.
I think is Saturday. So
okay.
let me go to my trusty calendar. Yes. And then the 3rd, which is Sunday, he'll be our guest with Eric and myself and Scotty at Peebo's.
Okay. Perfect. Anything else before we go?
No, if you want to hang out with me and get drum lessons, call Seattle Drum School. I've got some openings. I'd love to teach you how to play drums, man, or hang or whatever.
Cajon, maybe.
Yeah, cajon. I'll brush up on my cajon chops, but yes, I can teach you that too.
First thing I'm going to ask you to teach me is how to tune a cajon.
Okay, yeah, well, I got to learn that too. So I'm going to be, I'll be Googling that on YouTube.
Perfect. Thank you again so much, Tommy. I hope to see you in the future. It was a good, fun time. I'll be sending you the link to YouTube so you can watch us as well on Matured Musicians or there. In the meantime, good work and congratulations on your awards. And
thank you.
Hope to see all of you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Joy, for having me. I appreciate it. It's great to talk to you again.
You're very welcome, Tommy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Well, that's it. I have another, I think John P. Lewis, I believe, next week. Don't quote me on that, but he's coming back. He got sick. He got he's going to call that rash. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, he was get blisters all over his body, very uncomfortable when it came time to put him on. So he's coming back. He had to cancel, but he will be back, and I believe it's next week. In the meantime, have a good rest of your week. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next Monday at 2 o'clock. Bye-bye, guys. Let's see if I can get out of here gracefully. All right.